From the moment we are born, we begin to learn. It is actually amazing how much knowledge we as humans can absorb, especially from such a young age. And then it's even more amazing that we continue to learn and develop and grow as time goes on. This means that we can learn to do pretty much anything. Technically, if we put our minds to it, even though people will say the phrase "I can't" on average 437,000 times throughout their life. Okay, you caught me. I may have just made that statistic up. However, the concept of being able to learn anything is the topic I want to discuss in today's video, more so specifically related to finance. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese. I just told you what we're talking about, and with that being said, let's get straight into it. During the 4th grade in primary school, I was introduced to this terrible concept known as homework, and that generally came in the form of being assigned extra work to be completed before the next class. Homework then became part of my daily life for the next 14 years, all the way up until I finished university and started working full time. And over those 14 years, there were times where I did my homework and actually resulted in doing a little bit better on the test or assignment that homework covered. There were times where I said, nah, I'm not going to spend my free time with my head in a book, and didn't do the homework, and it didn't affect my grades for an assignment or a test that was coming up whatsoever. And there were times where I didn't touch the homework at all, and I ended up failing the test, which I don't know if it was a direct result from not doing the homework, but it would have played a part for sure. And just as a side note, in my own opinion, I think homework is bullshit. The whole concept of it sucks. It doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't necessarily fit into most standard occupations. I work my 9 to 5, I work my hours. I should not be taking work home with me unless I'm being paid for that time. Same goes for homework. Unless I don't get my work done in that specific time frame or that specified time frame, that's the only time when it should be applicable. In school, for example, if you don't finish your classwork during the class time, you should be taking that homework home to finish it so that it's done, ready for the next class to continue the content. New content that should not be set as homework ever. And the whole point of this Kickstarter to this video, why I'm talking about this entire concept, is that during this time, if I didn't do my homework, there were consequences regardless of if I passed the test or failed the test that I was studying for, or if I passed the assignment or failed the assignment I was doing. The consequence was someone was holding me accountable to do that homework, and if I wasn't able to present it complete, I would be punished for it. And what that instilled in my brain over those 14 years was that it just basically became part of my daily life, because I figured, why fight if I am not going to get my way around it? I need to do the homework, otherwise I'm going to get in trouble. It just became part of my daily life. I gave into that vice and just did it when I needed to do it. And what ended up happening once I had finished university and started working full time was that I started working in 9 to 5. My profession doesn't really take work home with you unless it's really urgent for the most part. And what that meant was that that time slot that I was allocating towards doing homework most nights was now free. That freed up time on my weekends, it freed up time in general, and I sat there and I went, how am I going to use this effectively? With this newly freed up time slot throughout my week, I made the decision to put a process in place to commit a small amount of time, not a large amount of time, but a small amount of time to keep that habit in place, to allocate it towards learning about topics that I was interested in that didn't really have a hell of a lot of knowledge about. And if you've seen anything on my channel before, I'm sure you could place a pretty calculated bet on what one of my favorite topics to learn more about is. But if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I will reveal my dirty little secret, and it is finance. Shocker, I know, right? And while I've kind of got you in this little mood right now, I might just ask if you could quickly hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel grow. I really appreciate the support, and it does not go unnoticed. Anyway, I made sure to spend some time each week brushing up on finance topics that I wasn't all that too sure about, or I wanted to learn more about because I thought it might be useful in the future. And I guess the big point for today's video is that ever since I started doing this, my wealth has grown significantly. I would say that at least 80% of what I know about finance today has been self-taught, and I've used the resources that are readily available to anyone else in the world for free. It's something that I am very grateful to my younger self for starting. It's something that I will definitely be carrying on well into my future as long as I gain value from doing it. So what I really wanted to do in today's video is provide perspective of how I myself approach this learning topic, how I do my homework on finance, and how I have improved my financial literacy over the years. And this whole idea to talk about it today has come from two different sources. It's come from myself wanting to create something that just kind of explains my process so that if people want to use snippets of this and incorporate it into their own lives, absolutely go ahead. But it also comes from people actually asking me. Lots of people I know ask me how I learn about these topics. How do you figure out this type of stuff? How do you put time and effort into learning about these things? How do you make it fun, enjoyable, and how is it actually useful? And that's kind of the whole purpose of what I'm doing right now. So in terms of how I actually spend my time to study this topic, let's stay specifically on the topic of finance. What I do is I spend anywhere between 1 and 2 hours every couple of days to commit towards just brushing up on what's going in the world of finance. This is probably the most enjoyable aspect of studying the topic of finance because it's something that is always fresh. There's always new questions being asked. There's always new content being posted. And I really like to just consume and learn what's going on in the world. If I come across a topic that I'm not overly familiar with or one that is relatively complex, then what I'll do is I'll set some time aside to dive in a bit deeper into that topic. And depending on how complex it is or how interested in the topic I am, I might even decide to make a video to make sure that when I write out a script, I fully understand what I'm talking about because I want to make sure that I have the best understanding possible about that topic. And to be completely honest, making finance related content, these videos that I'm specifically honing in on a very specific topic has been absolutely fantastic for my learning. It's something that I'm so grateful for starting to do, especially because when I need that information, when I need a recap of what the hell is the topic that I'm needing to refresh myself about, I can come back to the video, watch it, and it be clear cut and concise. Generally around tax time every year, I go back and watch my videos that I've made on tax that are relevant to me that I need to make sure I am brushed up on before I go see my accountant to save me money. So that's how I study or do my homework on finance related content. Now let's talk about where I go to find information. And these locations come in two different categories. The first is fast information. Fast information are sources like Reddit, YouTube, news articles, anywhere that is basically quick filler information that someone wants to put some story back behind a specific topic. That's where I'm going. Even a simple Google search, just a simple internet search, looking at whatever the top rated searches are, that's where I'm diving into to just get a bit of background about what's going on in the world, or even just to understand a brief concept of the topic that I'm looking into. Most often the topics coming from these types of sources of information are fairly straightforward, and the person talking about them, writing about them, whatever the type of content is, they're generally able to explain it like the person reading is a 5-year-old, which makes it pretty easy to grasp the overarching concept of what they're talking about. And that generally is as far as I need to go. To add to that, if what they're talking about generally has a lot of misinformation or isn't quite correct, they're going to get grilled or corrected in the comments. Even myself, on videos I have made before, I have been corrected, and I make sure to pin those comments at the top of the comment section, because it's important to make sure that I'm trying to create content that is as accurate and as informative as possible. Keeping in mind though that these types of sources are not always credible, and I use them as a snapshot to get a just brief understanding of whatever the topic is talking about. Which leads me on to the second category, which is more reliable information. This is the types of sources I go to when I want to get a more in-depth and complex understanding of the topic I'm focusing on, and I want to be able to trust the information that I'm reading. And this generally comes in the nature of how the information is published. And these types of sources are things like published books, any types of peer-reviewed articles that are published on credible databases such as Google Scholar. That definitely is a popular one I know many people use. And then any type of data or statistics I use in my videos, I like to get that data from organizations who publish this data, whose job it is to publish this data, such as the Bureau of Statistics here in Australia. And that really is as simple as it needs to be. Every couple of days, I allocate a spare bit of time to brush up on some topics that I am interested in. In this case, I'm talking about finance. Doing this has served me really well, and it's something that I would encourage anyone who wants to better their financial position to consider incorporating into their daily or weekly routine. And feel free to check out any of the videos on my channel as a simple starting point. Those videos are there as a resource to help people who are looking to better their financial position. And to a lot of people, based on the feedback I've been given, they have been helpful, which is a really great feeling. Educating yourself about about finance over the long term will assist you in building your wealth. It will also help reduce stress in many different ways. It's something that, like I said, I highly encourage incorporating into your weekly routine. It's not something you will regret. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was insightful. I hope I potentially gave you some motivation to incorporate this into your daily life. That's the third time I've said it. So now you got to actually do it. And I will leave you there. With that being said, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below, bell notifications on, the usual subscription things. I gotta plug myself. Otherwise, what's the point of creating this content? And that's it. Have a good day. Have a good week. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.